Initiate. Vigilante. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Vigilante Mode Reviews. A lot of you, or many of you, or some of you have seen my recent short film sheet. So I just first of all want to thank everybody who tuned in to watch that. It really helps the channel out, it helps the production company out, and it just makes me feel good because my team and we put in so much hard work on this movie, and while it's by no means a perfect movie, I'm really happy with the response that it got and people's honest feedback, and I'm glad that some people thought that it was had some thought-provoking elements to it. It's not like a jump scare movie, although there are a few moments of that. We were really shooting for something a little bit more sophisticated and a little bit more meta, and I think we achieved that. There is a kind of short documentary that is on the way. We did shoot a lot of footage just of us making it and just having some fun. So that'll be up relatively soon. Let's jump into the review of one of my most anticipated movies of the year, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange was directed by Scott Derrickson. It stars Benedict Cumberbatch, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Tilda Swinton, and Rachel McAdams, along with Mads Mikkelsen. This is another addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe tapestry. Overall, a pretty solid addition to the collection of films. After reading Infinity Gauntlet and Infinity War, I'm really interested to see how it all comes together because Doctor Strange does play a pretty big part of that storyline. So I saw this movie in IMAX 3D, and this is a really incredible visual experience, and I think it was really, really well suited for IMAX 3D. It really works well for this film. There's this incredible special effects, incredible reality bending, almost looking through a lens, through a kaleidoscope. Just incredible ideas and imagery, and just warping space and time. There's incredible action set pieces. There's a lot of humor in the film. It was well written. It was pretty well paced. There's some minor little nitpicks that I have for it. A big theme of the movie is time, and I did feel there were some minor plot holes with how time really progressed in this movie. The film is, to a large extent, a pretty cliche movie. It's very paint by numbers, superhero film, but at this point, at this stage of the game and the kind of comic book movie renaissance, what do you expect? It's hard, I feel to reinvent the wheel, and I feel when directors and writers and studios try to do that, then everybody kind of hates those movies as well. Deadpool is definitely a great film and should really be applauded for its kind of refreshing sense of originality, but at the same time it is still very much a guy has a life, he gets powers, his girlfriend's kidnapped, and then he has to go save her at the end. There's not that much new about that, with the exception of the kind of the trappings and the trimmings. That's what I think really should be applauded in this movie, because it did give a very fresh kind of perspective on the superhero genre. Civil War really did create a great coming together of this collision between these two superhero factions, something that we don't really often see. And I like the villain in that movie, which brings me to the villain in this film. Caecilius, played by Mads Mikkelsen, for me was a solid villain, but there was nothing really that special about him, and we didn't really get a lot of the backstory that they were alluding to in the film. And there's a prequel comic, as there is with most comic book movies. There you do have some of the backstory for this character, and it's just sort of this movie was under 2 hours. I don't see why they couldn't have just added another scene or two, exploring a little bit of who he really is, so that we get a little bit more depth. There were some great scenes between him and Cumberbatch that did kind of explore that dynamic. The Ancient One. There was a lot of controversy over this casting of Tilda Swinton, one of my favorite actors. She's a chameleon. I thought she delivered a great performance in the film. In some ways, she kind of steals the show. I guess I wasn't really thinking about the kind of racial inequality going on in Hollywood or in the world right now as I was watching the movie, because I was so invested in the film. I don't know. I don't really know where I stand on it, to be honest. I think it's cool that they kind of gender bended the role. I feel there was a pretty solid representation of a lot of different ethnicities in the film. Chiwetel Ejiofor as Mordo. He was fantastic in this movie. I just thought this movie was really well acted all around. And I was actually a little bit more familiar with this character from the Spider-Man animated series from the 90s. So I was very invested in his role. I thought he had a really good arc. We'll talk a little bit in like the spoiler section of the video about sort of like where his character's going. But I really thought him and Cumberbatch had some great chemistry with each other. Benedict Wong as Wong. I guess not as controversial because they decided to eliminate the kind of manservant element from the character's history and just made him into like a warrior and like the librarian of the Sorcerer Palace plays. He also delivered a great performance. I like his work. Now, Cumberbatch. I mean, the guy is a great actor. He's almost similar to how I feel like Tony Stark and Downey are like synonymous. I don't really know if I could see too many other people playing this role. I think he was like perfect for it, really. And a lot of people are complaining about the American accent. Didn't bother me at all. As soon as you start listening to it, he's in the flow, and it was fine for me. Rachel McAdams' role in the film was kind of a small role. She kind of deserves better than this. She was fine in the movie, and I do think she like served her utility well. But I just wanted, I feel like, you got Brie Larson playing Captain Marvel. Why not get her to play like She-Hulk or something? I don't know. She had chemistry with Cumberbatch, and they had some really funny scenes together as well. Overall, I really, really did like the movie. Visually, probably one of the most dynamic movies Marvel has made. It did kind of have its own style that is unique to the rest of the Marvel palette. So I'm gonna give this film a B+, a very strong B+, not like the Ghostbusters B+, which probably really deserved like more like a B or a B-. Really strong B+, like almost an A-, but there's just a couple of things in this movie that I just did think that maybe undercut the potential of making this a great film. I have my buddy Spider-Man here to come and talk about some of the little spoilers of the movie. So if you haven't seen the film, now would be a good time to either skip ahead to the very last, maybe, I don't know, whatever time code this says, to, maybe click on some of those links and subscribe and blah, 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 blah. But he's going to talk a little bit about some of the more spoilery stuff in the movie. Take it away. Spider-Man, come on in. Thanks, Jordan. Hey guys, I have been here before. If it's your first time kind of seeing me guest star on the show, the first time I actually had the wrong dates. I'm here and I just wanted to chat with you guys a little bit about some of my thoughts in the movie. And since I'm a very big part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, now at least, kind of weigh in on some of my thoughts, particularly more of the spoiler elements of the movie. So first thing would be some of those post-credit scenes. Now there were two in this movie, and the first one was involving Thor. Strange is actually going to show up in Thor Ragnarok, catching up on where Thor the Dark World left off. It was definitely a funny scene, and I really enjoyed it, and it's cool to see them have chemistry. And the second post-credit scene was Mordo at the end, and you see that Mordo has sort of strayed from the path because he felt betrayed by the Ancient One, which was kind of very Anakin Skywalker-y to me, but actually I really liked that choice, and I really liked the scene. I thought actually it was a really good way to kind of branch off into new territory for where they're intending to go with the Doctor Strange franchise. I actually think this is a really good setup for a villain for the future. I don't want to get in trouble with Kevin because, he's my boss. I think that Marvel has definitely had a bit of a problem with their villains. The villains are a little lackluster. Keep that between us, okay? Because I'm trying to keep my job. Hopefully, we get almost like a Winter Soldier-like sequel from Doctor Strange. The other major kind of spoiler element of this movie is Dormammu, another character from the TV series from the 90s. Dormammu, I remember being this kind of flaming Ghost Rider-looking head dude in a purple suit. So this movie definitely did not incorporate that kind of visual cue, and instead they had a big giant kind of Wizard of Oz head. If you look closely, it's actually Benedict Cumberbatch's face. I actually kind of was okay with it. I mean, it was a little jarring at first because we hadn't seen anything like that in the film up until that point. But they were trying to give us a big ending, and I thought that sequence was pretty clever. Third act of every superhero movie, you got the big swirling garbage thing in the sky, and we sort of do have that in this movie, but it was done well. That's sort of the difference between this one and kind of what happened in Suicide Squad, where the swirling pile of garbage actually makes some sense. We know what it is. The dark dimension coming in and trying to engulf our planet. So there was more rhyme and reason to it. We got another Infinity Gem in this movie. I kind of had suspected that the Time Gem was going to be incorporated, and I already kind of thought that the Eye of Agamotto was going to be the thing that held it. So great, you know, here we go. We're almost there. I'm gonna hand it back to Jordan to just sort of wrap this video up. I really did hope you liked the movie. I thought it was great. I had a really good time. I was like smiling ear to ear. Yeah, I really think it's worth seeing. So until next time, guys, see you later. Thanks a lot, Spidey. We'll see you soon, okay? I really did love the movie, and I hope you liked it too. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you thought of the film. It's a new thing introduced on YouTube, thumbnail thingies, so there might be one here or here or here or here. And so you can click on, Sheet, and you can click on a few other things and just explore. Almost at 100 subscribers. We're getting there. We're like at 87. So let's get those last 13. As always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time. Until then, Vigilante mode deactivated.